My friends, tonight I want to reveal to you the most profound secret about money that has ever been discovered. A truth so revolutionary that it will completely transform your relationship with wealth, abundance, and financial success. Listen carefully. Money is not paper. Money is not metal. Money is not numbers in a bank account. Money is pure energy, the energy of divine love made manifest in symbolic form. When you understand this truth, truly understand it, you will never struggle with money again. The great mystics knew this secret. They understood that money is simply divine love seeking expression through material form. It is the universe's way of saying, I love you, through tangible means. Every dollar that flows to you is a kiss from the infinite. Every financial blessing is a demonstration of divine favor. But here is what the world has never taught you. This energy of money vibrates at exactly the same frequency as self-love, self-respect, and recognition of your own divine worth. This is not metaphorical language. This is literal truth. When you vibrate at the frequency of self-love, you automatically attract the energy that manifests as money. Everything in this universe is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Water can be ice, liquid, or steam. The same H2O molecules expressing different vibrational states. Similarly, the energy of abundance can manifest as money, opportunities, gifts, or any form of material good, depending upon the frequency at which you are vibrating. When you love yourself, truly love yourself, you naturally vibrate at the frequency of wealth. You don't tolerate environments that diminish you. You don't chase people who don't value you. You don't settle for less than you deserve. You don't spend money to impress others. You invest money to express your true nature. This is the exact same energy signature that attracts wealth, because money flows to those who respect it, value it, and see it as an expression of divine abundance rather than the root of all evil. I once knew a man who earned minimum wage but carried himself with the dignity of a millionaire. He dressed impeccably with what little he had, treated every dollar with reverence, and never spoke of money with contempt or fear. Within 2 years, he had built a business empire. The money was drawn to him like iron filings to a magnet, because his frequency was already aligned with wealth consciousness. Money follows self-worth. Here is a truth that will revolutionize your financial life. Your bank account is nothing more than a perfect reflection of your self-worth, not your self-esteem. That's just surface emotion. I'm speaking of your deep, core conviction about your own value in the universe. If you believe at the deepest level that you are worth $50,000 per year, the universe will orchestrate circumstances to ensure you earn approximately that amount. If you truly know yourself to be worth millions, the universe has no choice but to deliver opportunities that match this inner conviction. This is why people who win the lottery often lose it all. Their windfall exceeded their inner sense of worth, creating an unconscious discomfort that compelled them to return to their familiar financial level. They hadn't lifted their consciousness to match their bank account, so their bank account eventually dropped to match their consciousness. But when you consciously elevate your sense of worth, when you truly recognize yourself as a divine being deserving of abundant prosperity, the universe begins immediately to adjust your external circumstances to match this inner reality. Let me share with you the story of a woman who came to me earning $30,000 per year and feeling trapped in financial limitation. When I asked her what she believed she was worth, she hesitated and finally whispered, maybe $35,000. I showed her that she was thinking like a servant instead of a master. A servant asks permission from circumstances. A master commands circumstances through consciousness. I taught her to see herself as inherently valuable, not because of what she did, but because of what she was, a divine expression of infinite worth. We worked together to elevate her inner sense of value. Instead of seeing herself as someone hoping to earn more, she began to assume the consciousness of someone naturally worth abundant compensation. Within 6 months, she had doubled her income. Within 2 years, she was earning over $150,000 annually. The opportunities were always there, but she couldn't perceive them from her former consciousness of limited worth. Now, let me teach you something that banks and financial institutions pray you never discover. Money is energy, and energy must flow to remain alive. When you hoard money out of fear, you kill its energy. When you circulate money with love and wisdom, you multiply its power. This doesn't mean you should spend recklessly or fail to save and invest. It means you must understand that money is like water. It must flow to stay fresh. Stagnant water becomes polluted. Stagnant money becomes powerless to attract more of itself. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively. They know that money spent wisely returns multiplied. They invest in assets that generate income. They circulate money through business ventures that serve others. They understand that every dollar released with love and purpose will return with friends. But the poor think differently. They grip money with fear, terrified that spending any amount will leave them with less. This scarcity consciousness creates the very lack they fear. Their tight-fisted approach to money repels the very abundance they seek. I want to share with you a technique that will transform your relationship with money forever. The sacred circulation practice. Whenever money flows to you, whether a paycheck, a gift, or an unexpected windfall, immediately circulate a portion of it with love and gratitude. This doesn't mean giving it all away. It means consciously directing some of it toward purposes that serve the greater good, while filling your heart with joy. Pay your bills with gratitude, knowing that money is flowing through you to support others. Make investments with excitement, seeing each dollar as a seed that will grow into greater abundance. Give generously to causes that inspire you, recognizing that you are participating in the divine circulation of love. As you do this consistently, you will notice something remarkable. Money begins to flow to you more freely because you have demonstrated that you understand its true nature as flowing energy rather than static possession. Here is perhaps the most important distinction you will ever learn about money. There is a vast difference between having money and being wealthy. Having money is temporary. It can be gained or lost based on external circumstances. Being wealthy is a state of consciousness that naturally attracts money as its outward expression. When you are wealthy in consciousness, you think thoughts of abundance. You make decisions from prosperity rather than from lack. You carry yourself with the dignity of someone who knows their worth. You speak about money with respect and appreciation rather than fear and resentment. This wealthy consciousness is available to you right now, regardless of your current bank balance. You can choose to embody it immediately, and as you do, your external circumstances will begin to shift to match this inner state. I remember a time when I had only a few dollars to my name, yet I chose to think and feel like a millionaire. I walked with confidence, spoke with authority, and made decisions from abundance rather than scarcity. People began to treat me differently. Opportunities appeared that had been invisible before. Within months, my financial reality had transformed to match my inner conviction. The key is understand that wealth consciousness is not dependent upon wealth manifestation. It's the other way around. First, you become wealthy in mind and heart. Then wealth appears in your material world. Let me now reveal to you the most powerful technique for transforming your financial reality. The practice of assumption, applied specifically to money consciousness. Every night, as you prepare for sleep, assume the feeling of already possessing the wealth you desire. But don't just imagine having money. Feel what it feels like to be a wealthy person. Experience the consciousness of abundance from the inside out. Feel the peace that comes from knowing you have more than enough. Experience the generosity that flows naturally from abundance. Sense the freedom that comes from having multiple streams of income. Know the joy of being able to help others and support causes you believe in. As you generate these feelings night after night, you are impressing your subconscious mind with the reality of your wealth. Your subconscious, which cannot distinguish between imagined and actual experience, begins to restructure your entire life to match this new reality. But here's the crucial point. You must feel these emotions as if they are already true, not as if you hope they will become true. The difference between these two approaches is the difference between commanding and begging, between creating and hoping. I worked with a man who was deeply in debt and facing bankruptcy. Every night, instead of worrying about his financial problems, he would lie in bed and feel what it would be like to have abundant wealth flowing to him from multiple sources. He would imagine paying off all his debts with ease, investing in profitable ventures, and living with complete financial freedom. His logical mind protested, telling him this was foolish fantasy, but he persisted in assuming the feeling of financial abundance every single night. Within a year, he had not only eliminated his debt, but had built a thriving business that generated more wealth than he had ever imagined possible. The turning point came when he stopped trying to figure out how his situation would improve and simply assumed that it already had improved in consciousness. Once he made this inner shift, the universe began to orchestrate the external circumstances to match his new assumption. Now I want to share with you a perspective that will revolutionize your understanding of wealth. Money is spiritual currency. It is the material expression of your ability to serve others and add value to the world. Every dollar you earn represents value you have created for another human being. Every fortune that lasts is built upon genuine service to humanity. This is why businesses that truly serve prosper, while those that merely seek to extract money from people eventually fail. When you shift your focus from how can I make money to how can I serve in ways that naturally generate abundant compensation, you align yourself with the spiritual laws that govern lasting wealth. The universe is infinitely abundant, but it operates on the principle of circulation. Wealth flows to those who facilitate this circulation through service, value creation, and genuine contribution to the well-being of others. I once counseled a woman who was struggling to build her consulting business. She was focused entirely on how much money she could make from each client. Her consciousness was one of extraction rather than contribution. Naturally, clients were scarce, and those she did attract paid her minimally. I helped her shift her focus to the value she could provide. Instead of thinking about what she could get from clients, she began to concentrate on what she could give to them. She started seeing each potential client as an opportunity to make a meaningful difference in someone's life. This shift in consciousness transformed everything. Clients began seeking her out. They gladly paid premium prices for her services. Her income increased tenfold within 18 months. But more importantly, she found deep fulfillment in her work. The money followed naturally because she had aligned herself with the spiritual principle that governs all lasting wealth: genuine service to others. You also need to break the poverty spell. Most people are under a spell, the poverty spell cast by generations of limited thinking about money. This spell manifests as beliefs like money is the root of all evil. Rich people are greedy, there's not enough to go around, and I don't deserve wealth. These beliefs are not your own. They were inherited from parents, absorbed from society, and reinforced by media that profits from keeping you in financial limitation. But spells can be broken, and I'm going to show you how. The poverty spell is broken through the conscious practice of wealth assumptions. Every time you catch yourself thinking a limiting thought about money, immediately replace it with an assumption of abundance. Instead of I can't afford that, say I am abundantly prospered. Instead of money is tight, declare money flows to me freely. Instead of I'm not good with money, affirm I am naturally wealthy. But remember, this is not mere positive thinking. You must generate the feeling of these statements being true. You must think from wealth, not of wealth. You must embody the consciousness of abundance, not merely recite abundance affirmations. Let me tell you about a man who was so deep under the poverty spell that he would literally push money away when it was offered to him. He had been taught that accepting money made him greedy or weak. This belief had kept him in poverty for decades. I helped him understand that money is simply energy, and rejecting it was like rejecting divine love. We worked to reprogram his deep-seated beliefs about his worthiness to receive abundance. As his consciousness shifted, his ability to attract and keep money transformed dramatically. Within 2 years, he had gone from pushing money away to naturally attracting multiple income streams. The spell was broken through conscious assumption and persistent practice. Let me now reveal to you the specific consciousness that creates millionaires. The millionaire mindset is not about having $1 million. It's about thinking in principles that naturally generate million-dollar results. Millionaires think in terms of multiplication, not addition. They think in terms of systems, not single transactions. They think in terms of value creation, not job security. They think in terms of assets that produce income, not just income itself. But most importantly, millionaires assume abundance as their natural state. They expect good things to happen. They believe they deserve prosperity. They see opportunities where others see problems. They take calculated risks while others remain paralyzed by fear. You can adopt this millionaire consciousness immediately, regardless of your current financial situation. Start thinking like a millionaire today, and millionaire results will inevitably follow. I worked with a young man who had never earned more than $40,000 in a year, yet he made a decision to adopt millionaire consciousness. He began studying how millionaires think, what they believe about money, and how they make decisions. He started making small decisions from millionaire consciousness, investing in his education rather than spending on entertainment, building multiple income streams rather than relying on a single job, solving bigger problems rather than just doing assigned tasks. Within 5 years, he had achieved his first million in net worth, but the real transformation wasn't in his bank account, it was in his consciousness. He had literally become a different person, one who naturally attracted wealth because he thought and acted from wealth consciousness. I want to teach you a special practice that will accelerate your wealth manifestation beyond anything you've experienced. The prosperity prayer. This is not a prayer of begging or pleading. This is a prayer of assumption and recognition. Each morning, before you begin your day, speak these words with deep feeling and absolute conviction. I am divinely prospered. Money flows to me easily, abundantly, and continuously from expected and unexpected sources. I am a magnet for financial opportunities. I create value wherever I go, and the universe rewards this value with abundant compensation. I am grateful for the wealth that is already mine in consciousness and is now manifesting in my physical reality. But the words themselves are not the power. The power is in the feeling you generate as you speak them. You must feel the truth of these statements in your bones. You must embody the consciousness they represent. As you practice this daily, you will notice your entire relationship with money beginning to transform. Opportunities that were invisible before will become obvious. Income streams you never considered will begin to appear. Your capacity to receive and manage wealth will expand naturally. Here is something that wealthy people know but rarely share. Wealth is attracted to those who appreciate it, respect it, and see it as a tool for good. Money flows away from those who fear it, resent it, or see it as evil. Your attitude toward wealthy people reveals your attitude toward wealth itself. If you harbor resentment toward the rich, you are unconsciously repelling wealth from your own life. If you admire and respect successful people, you are aligning yourself with the energy of success. This doesn't mean you should worship money or wealthy people. It means you should recognize wealth as a natural expression of divine abundance and successful people as examples of what's possible when someone aligns with prosperity consciousness. I remember working with a man who constantly complained about greedy rich people while simultaneously wondering why he couldn't attract wealth. His resentment toward the wealthy was creating an unconscious rejection of wealth itself. Once he learned to appreciate success in others and see wealthy people as inspiration rather than enemies, his own financial situation began to improve dramatically. He realized that what you resist persists, and what you appreciate appreciate. Let me share with you one of the most important wealth-building strategies: the conscious creation of multiple income streams. This is not just a financial technique, it's a way of aligning with the abundance of the universe itself. Nature creates through diversity and multiplication. A single tree produces thousands of seeds. A river flows through multiple channels. The sun radiates energy in countless directions. When you create multiple income streams, you are modeling your financial life on the principles of natural abundance. But here's what most people don't understand. Multiple income streams don't just provide financial security. They provide energetic alignment with infinite abundance. Each stream represents a different way you are serving the world and receiving compensation for that service. Start by identifying your natural talents, skills, and interests. Each of these can potentially become an income stream. Your job is not to force these streams into existence, but to assume they already exist and allow them to manifest naturally. I worked with a teacher who felt trapped by her single salary. Together, we identified 7 different ways she could serve others and generate income: tutoring, writing educational materials, conducting workshops, creating online courses, consulting with schools, coaching other teachers, and speaking at conferences. Within 2 years, she had developed 5 of these 7 income streams. Her total income had tripled, but more importantly, she felt alive and excited about her work in ways she hadn't experienced in years. As we near the end of our journey together tonight, I want to leave you with the ultimate truth about money and wealth. True wealth is not about accumulating money. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts and wisely manages abundant resources. When you focus on becoming wealthy in consciousness, developing the thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and habits of prosperity, the money follows naturally. But when you focus only on the money while neglecting consciousness, any wealth you acquire will be temporary and unfulfilling. The question is not, how can I make more money? The question is, how can I become the kind of person who naturally attracts and deserves abundant prosperity? Answer this question through your daily choices, your moment-to-moment assumptions, and your consistent practice of wealth consciousness, and the universe will have no choice but to mirror this inner wealth through your external circumstances. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, I want you to assume the feeling of being naturally, abundantly, joyfully wealthy. Not just having money, but being wealth in human form. Feel the peace, the freedom, the generosity, and the joy that comes from knowing you are divinely prospered. As you fall asleep in this consciousness, you are impressing your subconscious mind with a new reality. You are planting seeds in the fertile soil of infinite possibility. You are aligning yourself with the energy of abundance that flows through all creation. Tomorrow, carry this consciousness with you throughout your day. Make decisions from wealth, not toward it. Think from abundance, not toward it. Be prosperity in action, knowing that the universe has no choice but to mirror your inner state through your outer circumstances. Remember, you are not trying to attract money from outside yourself. You are recognizing and expressing the infinite abundance that has always been your true nature. The energy of money is the energy of divine love seeking expression through material form. You are a beloved child of infinite abundance, worthy of every good thing, deserving of complete prosperity. I am wealthy, I am abundant, I am divinely prospered in all ways, and so it is, and so it shall be. For this is the law of wealth consciousness, as within so without, as above so below, as in consciousness, so in manifestation. Rise up, prosperous being. Your abundant future awaits, and it begins with your next assumption about yourself. My dear friend, I need you to hear this, because what I'm about to tell you will change everything if you let it. You've been living a lie, not intentionally, but you've been conditioned to believe that your dreams exist somewhere out there, in some distant future, behind some mysterious door that you haven't found the key to yet. You wake up every morning as the person who wants something, instead of waking up as the person who has it. And that, my friend, is why you're stuck. You are living in the prison of how. Every single day, you torture yourself with the same question. How is this going to happen? You lie awake at night, your mind racing through scenarios, timelines, and possibilities. You've become a detective investigating your own life, searching for clues about when your breakthrough will come. But here's what nobody told you. The moment you ask how, you've already declared that it hasn't happened yet. You've just voted for your own delay. Think about it. When you have breakfast in the morning, do you wonder how you're going to eat it? When you get dressed, do you analyze the process of putting on your clothes? Of course not. These things are natural to you because you are someone who eats breakfast and gets dressed. There's no gap between who you are and what you do. But with your dreams, you've created this massive chasm. You stand on one side as the wanting person, staring across at your desire like it's some foreign country you might never visit. You've turned your desire into a math problem to solve instead of a reality to inhabit. You calculate probabilities, analyze market conditions, study other people's success stories, thinking that if you just gather enough data, you'll crack the code. But creation doesn't happen through calculation, it happens through conviction. Every time you wonder when will it happen, you're broadcasting to the universe that it hasn't happened yet. Every time you ask what if it doesn't work, you're investing energy in the very outcome you don't want. You're like someone planting a garden while simultaneously watering the weeds. Here's the truth that will set you free. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. Every morning, you have a choice. You can wake up as the person who's trying to become successful, or you can wake up as someone who is successful and simply hasn't seen all the evidence yet. You can spend your day as someone who hopes to find love, or you can move through the world as someone who is loved and worthy of love. The difference isn't just philosophical, it's everything. When you truly embody the person who already has what you desire, something magical happens. You stop hunting for signs. You stop refreshing your phone looking for the universe's approval. You stop asking your friends if they think it's going to work out. Why? Because people who have what they want don't question whether they have it. But here's where most people stumble. They try to become the new person while still carrying the old person's baggage. They put on the mask of confidence while their inner dialogue still sounds like doubt. They act successful during the day, but worry themselves to sleep at night. You can't upgrade your life while downgrading your identity. You can't manifest from the state of lack while pretending to feel abundant. The universe responds to your authentic vibration, not your performance. Let me paint you a picture of what you've been doing, and it might sting a little, but stay with me. You wake up every morning and immediately check, not your phone, not the weather, but the state of your desire. Is it here yet? Has anything changed? Any signs? Any movement? And when you don't see what you're looking for, you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, the anxiety of absence. You've become addicted to monitoring your manifestation like it's a stock ticker. Up, down, hopeful, disappointed. You refresh your reality like a browser that won't load fast enough, constantly asking, is it here yet? But every time you ask, you're acknowledging that it isn't. And so the delay continues. You've trained yourself to live in the gap, that space between wanting and having, and you've gotten so comfortable there that you don't even realize you're choosing to stay there. You've made that gap your home address. But what if I told you that gap is an illusion? What if the only thing standing between you and your dreams is your belief that there's something standing between you and your dream? You fall into another trap too, comparing your journey to others. You see someone else's success and immediately start dissecting their path, trying to reverse engineer their formula. You study their timeline, their strategies, their backgrounds, thinking you can copy-paste their blueprint onto your life. But every path is unique because every consciousness is unique. When you try to recreate someone else's steps, You're telling your own desire it needs to arrive wearing someone else's costume, through someone else's door. You become so focused on method that you abandon your own inner power. You forget that the version of you who has your desire already exists. And that version doesn't copy or chase. They live with assurance. They know it's done. They walk with quiet boldness because nothing is missing. You watch other people's manifestations unfold and treat their outcomes as evidence that the process works, while simultaneously treating your own timeline as evidence that it doesn't work for you. You give everyone else permission to succeed while withholding that same permission from yourself. You've been brainwashed into believing that time is the enemy of your dreams, that you need more time for things to unfold, that you need to wait for the right moment, that your desires require a specific timeline to manifest. But time isn't linear when it comes to creation. You don't have to wait for your dreams to unfold in some logical sequence. You can collapse time by collapsing the gap between who you are and who you're becoming. You think you need months or years to become successful, but what if you could become successful right now? What if the only thing keeping you from that identity is your belief that it takes time? The version of you who has everything you want doesn't live in the future. They exist right now, in this moment, in the realm of infinite possibility. The only reason they seem future to you is because you haven't aligned with them yet. When you truly live in the end, when you actually feel, think, and act from the place of already having what you want, something incredible happens. The universe begins to rearrange itself around your new identity. Opportunities appear. People show up. Doors open. Not because you're forcing them to, but because that's what naturally happens in the reality where you already have what you want. See? The mirror doesn't lie. Your external world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting your internal reality back to you. If you don't like what you see in the mirror, you don't try to change the mirror, you change what you're reflecting. But most people spend their entire lives trying to rearrange the mirror. They push, they pull, they strategize, they manipulate circumstances, thinking that if they can just get the outside world to shift first, then they'll finally feel successful, loved, or fulfilled. It doesn't work that way. It never has, and it never will. The world isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are the author of them. Every single thing in your life right now is there because some version of you called it in. Whether consciously or unconsciously, that might be hard to hear, but it's also incredibly empowering. If you created your current reality, then you have the power to create a different one. You keep wiping the mirror instead of changing your face. You keep trying to fix the projection instead of adjusting the project. You believe that movement must be seen to be real, forgetting that all true movement begins invisibly within. Let me tell you about assumption, not the kind where you assume things about other people, but the kind where you assume things about yourself and your life. Assumption is the most powerful creative force in the universe. When you assume something is true about yourself, when you really feel it and embody it, reality has no choice but to conform to that assumption. But here's where most people mess it up. They assume for about 5 minutes, then spend the next 5 hours wondering if their assumption is working. They put on the crown of their desired self, then immediately take it off to examine it. True assumption isn't something you do, it's something you become. It's not a technique you practice, it's an identity you wear. And once you put it on, you don't take it off to see if it's working. You just live from it. You try to fake the feeling, mimic the thoughts, repeat the phrases, but you don't allow yourself to actually embody it because you're waiting for the world to shift first. But it never does. Not until you do. Assumption isn't hope for the best. It's knowing you are the best version of yourself now. It's not waiting for things to align. It's knowing they already have in the unseen realm. You've become addicted to strategy, thinking that the right plan will guarantee your success. You make lists, rehearse possibilities, calculate probabilities, all from the standpoint of someone who does not yet have what they want. You collect techniques like someone hoarding supplies for an apocalypse that will never come. You jump from method to method, always looking for the better way, the faster way, the right way, not realizing that you are not manifesting from the state of the wish fulfilled but from the anxiety of lack. You believe that the more you understand the path, the quicker it will arrive, but understanding is not the gateway. Acceptance is. You ask the same questions over and over. What do I need to do? How long will it take? Is this the right technique? And in those questions, you reveal your disbelief. You're not living in the end, you're living in evaluation. You're not surrendering to the outcome, you're auditing the process. You sabotage the ease of the unfolding by turning it into a task to be completed rather than an identity to be assumed. You confuse movement with progress and effort with power. You chase signs, look for synchronicities, scroll for proof, but all you're doing is feeding the illusion that something still needs to happen. You've become a chronic analyst, thinking your way around what can only be felt. You turn every moment into data to be processed, every experience into evidence to be evaluated. You've made yourself a victim of your own intellect. But manifestation is not analysis, it's assumption. It's not how it comes, it's who you are. You're waiting for something to click outside when the click happens inside. It's the shift from asking to knowing, from hoping to being, from waiting to receiving. You've gotten so good at pretending you don't have what you want that you've forgotten how natural it is to live as if you do. You build stories around your limitations, defend your delays, justify your doubts, and then wonder why your desires feel so far away. You've practiced lack longer than you've practiced fulfillment. You wake up expecting your dreams not to be here, and that expectation becomes your daily prayer. You keep calling in absence with every thought of effort, every glance at the clock, every calculation of when and how. So what to do? First, you need to understand the surrender paradox. Here's something that will blow your mind. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in. It means choosing once and living from that choice. It's not about repetition. It's about dwelling. You don't need to keep reminding yourself if you've truly assumed it. You only remind yourself when part of you still isn't sure. You don't need more affirmations if you truly believe. You only need affirmations when you're trying to convince yourself of something you don't yet feel. Real surrender is not indifference. It's the deepest kind of knowing. When you fully detach from the how, it's not because you don't care, but because it's already yours. You no longer ask how, because there is nothing more to ask. You've arrived, and arrival ends the questioning. But you keep asking, how do I detach from the how? And even that question reveals that you're still looking for steps instead of becoming the person for whom it's already normal. You think letting go means ignoring the desire, but it means ignoring the doubt. It means seeing the desire as already fulfilled and then living from that reality with quiet confidence. You need to stop rehearsing and start living from your desire. You've been living your life in rehearsal mode, always preparing, never performing, always getting ready to be the person you want to be, instead of just being them. You rehearse conversations you'll have when you're successful. You imagine how you'll feel when you meet your soulmate. You visualize what life will be like when you're finally happy. But rehearsal is not living. And the person you want to become isn't waiting for some future moment to arrive. They're available to you right now, in this moment. What would the successful version of you do today? How would they walk? How would they talk to themselves? What decisions would they make? What would they worry about? And more importantly, what wouldn't they worry about? You keep thinking the bridge must look a certain way, but that's not your job. Your job is to walk through the day with the calmness of someone who no longer wants because they already are. Stop practicing being that person. Start being that person. The waiting game must end now. You've been waiting for permission. Permission from the world, permission from other people, permission from the universe to finally claim what's yours. But nobody's coming to give you that permission. The only person who can authorize your transformation is you. You don't need more time. You don't need better circumstances. You don't need more knowledge or more resources or more connections. You need to stop waiting and start claiming. The version of you who has everything you want already exists. They're not some future possibility. They're a present reality that you can step into right now, today, this moment. But you have to choose them. Not tomorrow, not when things get better, not when you feel more confident. Now, you keep waiting for proof, but your world can only reflect what you already embody. You may have vivid imaginations, beautiful inner scenes, detailed visualizations, but if you leave those scenes and immediately start asking how it will unfold, you're not truly dwelling there. You leave the creative act half finished by looking over your shoulder, checking if the outer world has caught up yet. But the world doesn't move first, you do. Here's something profound. Your dreams aren't in the future. They exist right now, in this moment, in the realm of infinite possibility. The only reason they seem future to you is because you haven't aligned with the version of yourself who lives in that reality. You think the world has to show you something before you can feel it. But it's the feeling that causes the world to shift. You don't need evidence. You need embodiment. You don't need to figure it out. You need to become it. The version of you who has what you want doesn't think about how. They just live from the certainty that it's already theirs. They don't rehearse scenarios. They respond to life as if it's already done. They don't try to bridge the gap. They live as if there is no gap. They don't check the mirror for signs of change. They carry the change inside them. They don't ask when it's coming. They know it's here. They don't try to make it happen. They assume it's happening through them naturally, easily, inevitably. It takes courage to be the person you want to become before the world validates that choice. It takes courage to feel successful when your bank account doesn't reflect it yet. It takes courage to feel loved when you're still single. It takes courage to feel confident when you're still scared. But that courage, that willingness to be who you really are before the world catches up, is the price of admission to the life you truly want. Most people never pay this price. They wait for external validation before they'll internally validate themselves. They want the world to change before they change their inner world. But you're not most people. You wouldn't be here if you were content with mediocrity. You have dreams that demand more of you. You have a vision that requires you to become someone new. You get stuck because you're living with one foot in desire and one foot in doubt, and so the universe responds to that divided signal. You say you want it, but you're constantly telling the story of why it hasn't come. You say it's yours, but then wonder who will give it to you. You act as if you're certain, but then wake up checking for signs. You feel like you're doing something wrong, but the only mistake is not fully stepping into the end. You think you become deserving by doing more, by knowing more, by working harder. But you become deserving by remembering that you always were, by embodying the version of yourself who never questions worthiness. You measure your worthiness by results instead of alignment, and you anchor yourself in hope instead of faith. You confuse movement with progress and effort with power. The desire was never a reward for effort. It was always an extension of identity. You don't need to earn what's already yours. You don't need to chase what's already within you. You don't need to prove what's already true. You think the details will give you control, but it's the surrender to the end that gives you power. You think if you figure out the how, you'll feel calm, but true calm comes from deciding that it's already done. You need to make the decision that changes everything. Right now, in this moment, you have a decision to make. You can continue living as the person who wants, hopes, and wishes for a better life, or you can step into the identity of the person who already has that life. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful imagination. This is about a fundamental shift in who you know yourself to be. When you make this shift, really make it, not just intellectually, but emotionally, energetically, everything changes. The questions that used to torment you become irrelevant. The timeline that used to stress you becomes meaningless. The how that used to consume you becomes background noise. Because when you truly embody the end result, the middle takes care of itself. You're not stuck because the universe is holding back. You're stuck because you keep touching the desire only to pull it away with questions. You keep stepping into the end only to leave when doubt knocks. You keep revisiting the desire instead of remaining in its fulfillment. But nothing is wrong. You haven't failed. You simply need to stop dancing with the how. You simply need to sit down in the throne of your desire and wear it like a second skin. When you truly understand that your outer world is a mirror of your inner state, you stop trying to force the mirror to change. You adjust what you're reflecting. You stop wrestling with the projection and focus on the projector. You realize that if you are embodying the state of the fulfilled desire, then it must outpicture itself because it has no choice. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. You stop needing to justify your desire, stop needing to explain your vision, stop needing to convince anyone, even yourself, that it's possible. Possibility doesn't matter when it's already done. Logic doesn't matter when you're living from the end. Evidence doesn't matter when your imagination is already providing it. You no longer argue with what is, you create what is. You no longer seek permission from the world, you give it permission to conform to your new self. The how feels important when you don't yet believe you can have what you want. The how feels urgent when you're still anchored in the old self. The how feels like a lifeline when your inner state isn't stable yet. But once you've assumed the end fully, the how becomes background noise. It becomes a non-issue. It unfolds on its own, often in ways you couldn't have predicted even if you'd tried. And you stop caring about prediction because you trust the unfolding. Your new reality starts now. I'm not asking you to believe in magic. I'm asking you to believe in yourself. I'm asking you to believe that the version of you who has everything you want isn't some impossible fantasy. They're who you really are underneath all the conditioning, all the fear, all the limiting belief. That person has been waiting for you to remember them, to claim them, to become them. They've been patient, but they're tired of waiting. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. You're not building a bridge, you are the bridge. And when you truly become the version who no longer waits, the waiting ends. When you no longer look for the how finds you, and it always does, beautifully, perfectly, effortlessly, once you stop needing it. Today is the day you stop asking how and start being who. Today is the day you stop living in the gap and start living in the truth. Today is the day you remember that you are not the person who wants, you are the person who has. Your dreams aren't coming, they're here. Your success isn't approaching, it's arrived. Your love isn't on the way, it's present. Walk through your day as if it's already done. Not because you're faking it, but because that's who you are now. You don't need more tools, more clues, more steps. You need more trust, not blind faith, but conscious, intentional assumption. You keep asking, What am I missing? And the answer is always the same. You're missing nothing except full identification with the version of you who has already arrived. The how is the illusion. It dissolves the moment you no longer need it. You want the path to light up, but the light comes on after you step, not before. Manifestation isn't like following instructions. It's like stepping into a role you were born for. You don't need to earn it. You need to wear it. You don't need to chase it. You need to claim it. When you keep circling the how, you're avoiding the real work, which is being the end now, despite appearances, despite doubts, despite silence from the world. That's power. That's the energy that bends reality. That's the energy that dissolves every need for the how. The choice is yours. The power is yours. The moment is now. Stop chasing tomorrow. Start living today. Stop being who you were. Start being who you are. Your new reality is waiting for you to claim it. What are you waiting for?
Picture this. You wake up each morning, close your eyes, and visualize your dream life. You see the success, feel the abundance, imagine the perfect relationship. You repeat affirmations like I am worthy of love, or money flows to me easily. You make vision boards. You try to feel grateful for what you don't yet have. Sound familiar? You've probably spent countless hours in meditation, trying to align your vibration. You've read book after book, taken course after course. You've practiced gratitude journaling, done visualization exercises. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Every time you visualize something as a future goal, you're unconsciously reinforcing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. You're literally broadcasting "I don't have this yet" to the universe. Think about the energy behind the phrase, "I want abundance." What's the hidden message? I don't have abundance. Each time you affirm what you want, you're actually confirming what you lack. And the universe? It's listening to every frequency you emit. It's giving you exactly what you're broadcasting. More waiting, more wanting, more almost but not quite. This is why traditional manifestation can feel so frustrating. You're working against yourself without even realizing it. Let's dive deeper into why this happens. When you operate from desire, you're operating from a fundamental assumption of separation. Desire inherently implies distance. It says, I am here, and what I want is over there. But here's where it gets really interesting. The quantum field, this invisible intelligence that responds to your consciousness, doesn't actually respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. If your dominant state is wanting, the quantum field mirrors that exact frequency back to you. It gives you more situations where you're left wanting, where fulfillment remains just out of reach. This creates what I call the manifestation paradox. The harder you try, the more you reinforce the very gap you're trying to close. It's like trying to catch your own shadow. The faster you run toward it, the faster it moves away from you. Here's what changes everything. You don't manifest from desire. You manifest from outcome. This isn't just a mindset shift. It's a complete reversal of how manifestation actually works at the quantum level. Instead of projecting your desires into the future, you start from the end result and work backwards. Think about it like watching a movie backwards. When you start from the ending, you already know how everything resolves. There's no anxiety about whether the hero wins. You've already seen it. You don't doubt the outcome because you've experienced the resolution. That certainty changes your entire emotional state as you watch the story unfold. Quantum physics proves this isn't just philosophy. At the quantum level, all possibilities exist simultaneously in what scientists call the field of infinite potential. Your ideal life, your perfect relationship, your dream career, abundant health, it's all already there, existing as potential realities waiting to be selected. You're not creating it from scratch. You're choosing it from an infinite menu of possibilities that already exist. The double-slit experiment, one of the most famous experiments in quantum physics, shows us something incredible. Reality responds to observation. Subatomic particles exist as waves of possibility until they're observed, at which point they collapse into specific measurable particles. You're doing this every moment of your life. Your conscious observation, your dominant emotional state and focused attention. is literally choosing which reality you experience from infinite possibilities. If you're constantly observing from lack, feeling the absence of what you want, you collapse realities that confirm that absence. But if you observe from fulfillment, from the emotional state of already having what you desire, you collapse realities that match that frequency. This isn't wishful thinking. It's quantum mechanics in action. Scientists have also discovered something called retrocausality, the idea that future events can influence past events at the quantum level. This suggests that when you align with a future outcome, you're not just attracting it, you're actually connecting with a timeline where it already exists. Every moment, your consciousness is performing this quantum selection process. Your beliefs, emotions, and expectations are the lens through which you observe reality. And that observation determines what becomes real in your experience. This is why people who expect good things to happen often experience more positive outcomes. It's not positive thinking, it's quantum mechanics. Their expectation shifts their observation, which collapses different possibilities into their reality. Consider this: your life right now is a perfect reflection of your dominant internal state. The quantum field is impartial and precise. It doesn't judge your desires as good or bad. It simply mirrors back your consistent emotional frequency. So if you want different external results, your task isn't to work harder externally. It's to shift your internal state to match the reality you want to experience. This is the foundation that most people get wrong. Stop visualizing your desires as future scenarios that might happen someday. Instead, clearly define your outcome from the perspective of already living it. Don't see yourself becoming wealthy. See yourself as someone who is wealthy right now. Don't imagine finding love. Experience being someone who is deeply loved and cherished. Don't visualize getting healthy. Embody the version of you who enjoys vibrant, effortless health. Here's the key. Experience it from the inside out, not from the outside in. Instead of watching yourself like you're viewing a movie, step into the scene. What does it feel like in your body? What thoughts naturally arise? How do you carry yourself when you already have everything you desire? Feel the satisfaction in your bones. Notice the confidence that flows through you. Experience the ease and naturalness of already having what you want. This isn't pretending. This is accessing a reality that already exists in the quantum field. Step 2. Become that version of yourself. This is where the real transformation happens. You need to shift from "I want to be successful" to "I am successful." But this isn't just about changing your words. It's about changing your entire energetic signature. Don't just say the words. Feel them resonate in every cell of your body. Notice how your posture changes when you truly accept this reality. Observe how your breathing shifts. Feel the tension release as you stop striving and start being. Your nervous system is listening to every signal you send. When you genuinely embody the version of yourself who already has what you desire, your brain begins rewiring itself around this new identity. New neural pathways form. Your subconscious mind starts filtering information differently. You're no longer broadcasting uncertainty, lack, or desperation. You're transmitting fulfillment, confidence, and gratitude. These are exactly the frequencies the quantum field responds to most powerfully. Step 3. Release control and trust the process. Here's the part that feels counterintuitive but creates the most dramatic results. Completely let go of controlling how your desired outcome manifests. Release your attachment to specific paths, methods, or timelines. Your job isn't to figure out the mechanics. Your job is to maintain your energetic alignment while the quantum field orchestrates all the details. Think of this like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check on its progress. You plant it, create the right conditions, and trust nature's intelligence to handle the growth. When you try to control the how, you're operating from the limited perspective of your conscious mind. But the quantum field has access to infinite intelligence and can arrange circumstances in ways your mind could never imagine. This is where surrender becomes your superpower. The moment you stop trying to force outcomes, you open yourself to possibilities beyond your current awareness. The reason this approach feels so foreign is that our entire society is built on the belief that effort equals results. We're taught to push, strive, and work harder to get what we want. But quantum manifestation operates on different principles entirely. The quantum field doesn't respond to effort. It responds to vibration. It doesn't move because you demand it. It aligns because you are aligned. Most people resist this because it challenges everything they've been conditioned to believe about achievement. But consider this, some of your most significant breakthroughs probably happened when you weren't trying so hard. They came in moments of relaxation, inspiration, or surrender. Here's how to integrate this into your daily life. Each morning, before you get out of bed, take a few minutes to feel your chosen reality, not as future potential, but as present fact. Say to yourself, I'm already living my ideal reality. But don't just think it, experience it fully. What would your day look like if you were already the version of yourself who has everything you desire? How would you move through the world? What decisions would feel natural and obvious? Feel this in your body for just a few minutes, then release it completely. This isn't about maintaining the feeling all day. It's about setting your frequency and then trusting throughout the day. When doubt creeps in, or when you catch yourself slipping back into wanting mode, simply remind yourself, it's already done. You don't need to recreate the entire experience. Just briefly reconnect with that certainty. Before sleep, practice what I call quantum gratitude. Instead of being grateful for what you hope will come, feel genuine appreciation for what already exists in your chosen reality. Thank the universe for the abundance you're already experiencing, the love that's already yours, the success that's already manifesting. This isn't fake gratitude. It's quantum gratitude. You're aligning with the timeline where these things are your natural reality. When you notice yourself slipping into old patterns of wanting or forcing, use this simple reset. Take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, what would the version of me who already has this be feeling right now? Then embody that feeling for 30 seconds. That's it. You've just course-corrected your frequency. You might have experienced this already without realizing it. Remember a time when something amazing happened after you stopped trying so hard. That perfect job that appeared when you'd given up the search. The relationship that blossomed when you weren't actively looking. The solution that came when you stopped obsessing over the problem. That wasn't coincidence or luck. That was the quantum field responding to your energetic shift. When you moved from desperation to surrender, from needing to allowing, you changed your frequency. And the field responded by collapsing a different set of possibilities into your reality. The universe doesn't need your effort. It needs your frequency. It doesn't require your struggle. It requires your alignment. Here's something that might seem contradictory. The people who receive the most are often those who need the least. This isn't about being privileged or lucky. It's about understanding a fundamental quantum principle. When you need something desperately, you're vibrating from lack. When you want something casually but aren't attached to getting it, you're vibrating from abundance. The field responds to the vibration, not the circumstances. This is why wealthy people often attract more wealth easily, while those struggling with money find it harder to manifest abundance. It's not unfair. It's frequency. The wealthy person's relationship with money is already abundant, so they magnetize more abundance. But here's the empowering truth. You can shift your frequency regardless of your current circumstances. You can develop an abundant relationship with anything, love, health, success, simply by choosing to embody the version of yourself who already has it. Instead of visualizing your journey from where you are to where you want to be, start from your desired outcome and look backwards. Imagine you're already living your dream life, and you're reflecting on how you got there. From this future perspective, the path seems obvious and inevitable. This technique eliminates doubt because you're not hoping something will happen. You're remembering how it happened. Throughout your day, ask yourself, how would the version of me who already has this respond to this situation? Let that version of yourself guide your decisions, reactions, and energy. This isn't pretending to be someone you're not. It's accessing a version of yourself that already exists in the quantum field. Practice caring deeply about your desires, while being completely unattached to when or how they manifest. This paradox, intense desire with total detachment, creates the perfect conditions for quantum manifestation. Every outcome has a unique energy signature, a specific combination of thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. Spend time identifying the exact energy signature of your desired reality. What does confidence feel like in your body? How does abundance change your breathing? What thoughts naturally arise when you feel completely loved? Once you identify this signature, you can access it instantly, regardless of external circumstances. This becomes your quantum tuning fork, instantly aligning you with your chosen timeline. This is perhaps the most powerful technique. Make decisions throughout your day, as if you're already living your desired reality. If you were already successful, how would you approach that meeting? If you were already in a loving relationship, how would you treat yourself today? If you were already healthy, what choices would feel natural? You're not pretending, you're practicing being the version of yourself who already lives this reality. Here's something that will revolutionize your relationship with timing in the quantum field. Your desired outcome already exists. It's not coming to you, you're tuning into it. This means there's no waiting involved, only alignment. When you fully embody the reality you desire, the physical manifestation becomes inevitable. It might happen quickly, or it might unfold gradually. But it's no longer a question of if, only when and how. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop needing it to happen by a certain time, it often manifests faster than you ever imagined possible. Why do some manifestations happen instantly, while others take time? It's not about the complexity of what you're manifesting. It's about the clarity and consistency of your alignment. A person might manifest a parking space instantly because they have no resistance to receiving it. But they might struggle for years to manifest a relationship because they have deep beliefs about their worthiness of love. The speed of manifestation is determined by your level of internal coherence. The less resistance you have to receiving something, the faster it appears. This is why working on your beliefs and self-concept is so crucial. Not because you need to be perfect, but because clear channels allow faster flow. You'll know you're successfully embodying your desired reality when you feel calm and certain about your outcomes, even if you can't see how they'll happen. When opportunities and synchronicities start appearing naturally, when people begin treating you differently, as if something has shifted, when your external circumstances start rearranging themselves to match your new frequency, when you lose the desperate need for things to happen immediately, when decision-making becomes easier because you naturally choose from your new identity. The difference between someone who manifests consistently and someone who struggles often comes down to one fundamental understanding. You don't manifest by reaching for what you want. You manifest by becoming who you already are in the reality where you have it. Every master manifestor understands this secret. They don't chase their desires. They choose their outcomes. They don't try to convince the universe to give them what they want. They align with the version of reality where they already have it. This isn't about positive thinking or visualization tricks. This is about understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself and working with quantum principles rather than against them. Most of society operates from the old paradigm. Work hard, struggle, earn your way to success. But quantum manifestation operates from a completely different paradigm. Align, embody, receive. This doesn't mean you won't take action, but your actions will come from inspiration rather than desperation, from alignment rather than anxiety. When you're truly embodying your desired reality, the right actions become obvious and effortless. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, saying the right things to the right people. This isn't coincidence. It's coherence in action. Making this shift requires a commitment, not to working harder, but to being more aligned. It's a commitment to catching yourself when you slip into old patterns of wanting and forcing, and gently redirecting yourself back to embodiment. It's a commitment to trusting the process even when you can't see immediate results. It's a commitment to maintaining your frequency regardless of external circumstances. Most importantly, it's a commitment to your own transformation. Because when you truly master quantum manifestation, you don't just get what you want. You become who you're meant to be. Stop chasing. Start choosing. Stop wanting. Start being. Stop forcing. Start allowing. Stop hoping. Start knowing. Stop becoming. Start being. Your dream future isn't something far away that you need to work toward. It already exists in the quantum field of infinite possibilities. And right now, in this moment, you're beginning to tune into its frequency. The quantum field has been waiting for you to remember this truth. It's been waiting for you to stop looking outside yourself for what can only be found within. It's been waiting for you to claim your power as the conscious observer who collapses infinite possibilities into concrete reality. As you integrate this understanding, remember that you're not just learning a new technique. You're remembering an ancient truth about the nature of consciousness and reality. You're stepping into your role as a quantum creator, someone who shapes reality through the power of aligned observation. This is your invitation to stop living as if you're separate from what you desire, and start embodying the truth that you and your desired reality are one. In the quantum field, there is no separation, no distance, no waiting, only the infinite possibilities of now. The quantum field doesn't respond to anxiety. It responds to alignment. The universe isn't waiting for you to do more. It's waiting for you to be more. Your dream reality is not somewhere out there. It's right here, right now, waiting for you to choose it.
Talking to oneself is a habit everyone indulges in. We could no more stop talking to ourselves than we could stop eating and drinking. All that we can do is control the nature and the direction of our inner conversation. Most of us are totally unaware of the fact that our inner conversations are the causes of the circumstances of our life. We are told that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. But do we know that man's thinking follows the tracks laid down in his own inner conversations? To turn the tracks to which he is tied in the direction in which he wants to go, he must put off his former conversation, which is called in the Bible the old man, and be renewed in the spirit of his mind. Speech is the image of mind. Therefore, to change his mind, he must first change his speech. By speech is meant those mental conversations we carry on with ourselves. The world is a magic circle of infinite possible mental transformations, for there are an infinite number of possible mental conversations. When man discovers the creative power of inner talking, he will realize his function and his mission in life. Then he can act to a purpose. Without such knowledge, he acts unconsciously. Everything is a manifestation of the mental conversations which go on in us without our being aware of them. But as civilized beings, we must become aware of them and act with a purpose. A man's mental conversations attracts his life. As long as there is no change in his inner talking, the personal history of the man remains the same. To attempt to change the world before we change our inner talking is to struggle against the very nature of things. Man can go round and round in the same circle of disappointments and misfortunes, not seeing them as caused by his own negative inner talking, but as caused by others. This may seem far-fetched, but it is a matter which lends itself to research and experiment. The formula the chemist illustrates is not more certainly provable than the formula of this science by which words are clothed in objective reality. One day, a girl told me of her difficulties in working with her employer. She was convinced that he unjustly criticized and rejected her very best efforts. Upon hearing her story, I explained that if she thought him unfair, it was a sure sign that she herself was in need of a new conversation piece. There was no doubt that she was mentally arguing with her employer, for others only echoed that which we whispered to them in secret. She confessed that she argued with him mentally all day long. When she realized what she had been doing, she agreed to change her inner conversations with her employer. She imagined that he had congratulated her on her fine work, and that she, in turn, had thanked him for his praise and kindness. To her great delight, she soon discovered that her own attitude was the cause of all that befell her. The behavior of her employer reversed itself. It echoed, as it had always done, her mental conversations with him. I rarely see a person alone without wondering to what conversation piece is he tied. On what mysterious track is he walking? We must begin to take life consciously, for the solution of all problems lies just in this. The second man, the Lord from heaven in all of us, is trying to become self-conscious in the body, that he may be about his Father's business. What are his labors? To imitate his Father, to become master of the word, master of his inner talking, that he may mold this world of ours into a likeness with the kingdom of love. The prophet said, "Be ye imitators of God as dear children." How would I imitate God? Well, we are told that God calls things that are not seen as though they were seen, and the unseen becomes seen. Our inner conversations represent, in various ways, the world we live in. Our individual worlds are self-revelations of our own inner speech. We are told that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof, for by their words they shall be justified, and by their words they shall be condemned. We abandon ourselves to negative inner talking, yet expect to retain command of life. Our present mental conversations do not recede into the past as man believes. They advance into the future to confront us as wasted or invested words. My word, said the prophet, shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in all the things whereto I sent it. How would I send my word to help a friend? I would imagine that I am hearing his voice, that he is physically present, that my hand is on him. I would then congratulate him on his good fortune, tell him that I have never seen him look better. I would listen as though I heard him. I would imagine that he is telling me he has never felt better, he has never been happier, and I would know that in this loving, knowing communion with another, a communion populous with loving thoughts and feelings, that my word was sent, and it shall not return unto me void, but it shall prosper in the things whereto I sent it. Now is the accepted time. Now is the day of salvation. It is only what is done now that counts, even though its effects may not be visible until tomorrow. We call not aloud, but by an inner effort of intense attention. To listen attentively as though you heard is to create. The events and relationships of life are your word made visible. Most of us rob others of their willingness and their ability to be kind and generous by our fixed attitudes towards them. Our attitudes unfold within us in the form of mental conversations. Inner talking from premises of fulfilled desire is the way to consciously create circumstances. Our inner conversations are perpetually outpictured all round us in happens. Therefore, what we desire to see and hear without, we must see and hear within. For the whole manifested world goes to show us what use we have made of the word. If you practice this art of controlled inner speaking, you too will know what a thrill it is to be able to say, "And now I have told you before it come to pass, that when it is come to pass, ye might believe." You will be able to consciously use your imagination to transform and channel the immense creative energies of your inner speech from the mental, emotional level to the physical level, and I do not know what limits, if any, there are to such a process. What is your aim? Does your inner talking match it? It must, if you would realize your aim, for as the prophet asked, can two walk together except they be agreed? And of course, the answer is no, they cannot. The two who must agree are your inner conversation and the state desired. That is, what you desire to see and hear without, you must see and hear within. Every stage of man's progress is made by the conscious exercise of his imagination, matching his inner speech to his fulfilled desire. As we control our inner talking, matching it to our fulfilled desires, we can lay aside all other processes. Then we simply act by clear imagination and intention. We imagine the wish fulfilled and carry on mental conversations from that premise. The right inner speech is the speech that would be yours, were you to realize your ideal. In other words, it is the speech of fulfilled desire. Now you will understand how wise the ancient was when he told us in the Hermetica, "There are two gifts which God has bestowed upon man alone, and on no other mortal creature. These two are mind and speech, and the gift of mind and speech is equivalent to that of immortality. If a man uses these two gifts rightly, he will differ in nothing from the immortals, and when he quits his body, mind and speech will be his guides, and by them he will be brought into the troop of the gods and the souls that have attained to bliss. With the gift of mind and speech, you create the conditions and circumstances of life. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word, said Hermes, is Son, and mind is Father of the Word. They are not separate one from the other, for life is the union of word and mind. You and your inner talking or word are one. If your mind is one with your inner conversation, then to be transformed in mind is to be transformed in conversation. It was a flash of the deepest insight that taught Paul to write, "Put off the former conversation, the old man, which is corrupt, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Put on the new man. Put on the new man, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind," is to change your inner conversation, for speech and mind are one. A change of speech is a change of mind. The prophet Samuel said, "The Lord spake by me, and his word was in my tongue." If the Lord's word was in the prophet's tongue, then the Lord's mouth that uttered the word must be the prophet's mind, for inner conversations originate in the mind and produce little tiny speech movements in the tongue. The prophet is telling us that the mouth of God is the mind of man, that our inner conversations are the word of God, creating life about us as we create it within ourselves. In the Bible, you are told that the word is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. See, I have set before you this day life and good, death and evil, blessings and cursings. Choose life. The conditions and circumstances of life are not created by some power external to yourself. They are the conditions which result from the exercise of your freedom of choice, your freedom to choose the ideas to which you will respond. Now is the accepted time. This is the day of salvation. Whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. For your future will be formed by the word of God, which is your present inner talking. You create your future by your inner conversation. The worlds were framed by the word of God, that is your inner talking. See on the fields, the sesamum was sesamum, the corn was corn, the silence and the darkness knew. So is a man's fate born, for ends run true to origins. If you would reap success, you must plant success. The idea in your mind which starts the whole process going is the idea which you accept as true. This is a very important point to grasp, for truth depends upon the intensity of imagination, not upon facts. When the girl imagined that her employer was unfair, his behavior confirmed her imagination. When she changed her assumption of him, his behavior reflected the change, proving that an assumption, though false if persisted in, will harden into fact. The mind always behaves according to the assumption with which it starts. Therefore, to experience success, we must assume that we are successful. We must live wholly on the level of the imagination itself, and it must be consciously and deliberately undertaken. It does not matter if, at the present moment, external facts deny the truth of your assumption. If you persist in your assumption, it will become a fact. Signs follow, they do not precede. To assume a new concept of yourself is, to that extent, to change your inner talking or word of God, and is therefore putting on the new man. Our inner talking, though unheard by others, is more productive of future conditions than all the audible promises and threats of men. Your ideal is waiting to be incarnated, but unless you yourself offer it human parentage, it is incapable of birth. You must define the person you wish to be, and then assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled in faith that that assumption will find expression through you. The true test of religion is in its use, but men have made it a thing to defend. It is to you that the words are spoken. Blessed is she that believeth, for there shall be an accomplishment of those things which are spoken unto her from the Lord. Test it. Try it. Conceive yourself to be one that you want to be, and remain faithful to that conception, for life here is only a training ground for image making. Try it and see if life will not shape itself on the model of your imagination. Everything in the world bears witness of the use or misuse of man's inner talking. Negative inner talking, particularly evil and envious inner talking, are the breeding ground of the future battlefields and penitentiaries of the world. Through habit, man has developed a secret affection for these negative inner conversations. Through them he justifies failure, criticizes his neighbors, gloats over the distress of others, and in general, pours out his venom on all. Such misuse of the word perpetuates the violence of the world. The transformation of self requires that we meditate on a given phrase, a phrase which implies that our ideal is realized, and inwardly affirm it over and over and over again, until we are inwardly affected by its implication, until we are possessed by it. Hold fast to your noble inner convictions or conversations. Nothing can take them from you but yourself. Nothing can stop them from becoming objective facts. All things are generated out of your imagination by the Word of God, which is your own inner conversation, and every imagination reaps its own words, which it has inwardly spoken. The great secret of success is a controlled inner conversation from premises of fulfilled desire. The only price you pay for success is the giving up of your former conversation, which belongs to the old man, the unsuccessful man. The time is ripe for many of us to take conscious charge in creating heaven on earth. To consciously and voluntarily use our imagination to inwardly fear and say only that which is in harmony with our ideal is actively bringing heaven to earth. Every time we exercise our imagination lovingly on behalf of another, we are literally mediating God to that one. Always use your imagination masterfully as a participant, not an onlooker. In using your imagination to transform energy from the mental, emotional level to the physical level, extend your senses. Look and imagine that you are seeing what you want to see, that you are hearing what you want to hear, and touching what you want to touch. Become intensely aware of doing so. Give your imaginary state all the tones and feeling of reality. Keep on doing so until you arouse within yourself the mood of accomplishment and the feeling of relief. This is the active, voluntary use of the imagination, as distinguished from the passive, involuntary acceptance of appearances. It is by this active, voluntary use of the imagination that the second man, the Lord from heaven, is awakened in man. Men call imagination a plaything, the dream faculty, but actually it is the very gateway of reality. Imagination is the way to the state desired. It is the truth of the state desired and the life of that state desired. Could you realize this fully? Then would you know that what you do in your imagination is the only important thing? Within the circle of our imagination, the whole drama of life is being enacted over and over again. Through the bold and active use of the imagination, we can stretch out our hand and touch a frame 10,000 miles away and bring health and wealth to the parched lips of his being. It is the way to everything in the world. How else could we function beyond our fleshly limitation? But imagination demands of us a fuller living of our dreams in the present. Through the portals of the present, the whole of time must pass. Imagine elsewhere as here and then as now. Try it and see. You can always tell if you've succeeded in making the future dream a present fact by observing your inner talking. If you are inwardly saying what you would audibly say, Were you physically present and physically moving about in that place, then you have succeeded. And you could prophesy it from these inner conversations and from the moods which they awaken within you, what your future will be. For one power alone makes a prophet, imagination, the divine vision. All that we meet is our word made visible. And what we do not now comprehend is related by affinity to the unrecognized forces of our own inner conversation and the moods which they arouse within us. If we do not like what is happening to us, it is a sure sign that we are in need of a change of mental diet. For man, we are told, lives not by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And having discovered the mouth of God to be the mind of man, a mind which lives on words or inner talking, we should feed into our minds only loving, noble thoughts. For with words or inner talking we build our world. Let love's lordly hand raise your hunger and thirst to all that is noble and of good report. Let your mind starve. Ere you raise your hand to a cup, love did not fill, or a bowl, love did not bless, that you may never again have to say, "What have I said? What have I done?" O all-powerful human words.
Good evening, my cherished friends. Tonight I want to share with you a revelation about a word so common, so seemingly innocent, that you probably spoke it dozens of times today without realizing you were casting spells of limitation upon yourself. That word, my friends, is want. And tonight I'm going to show you why wanting is like being a beggar standing outside the palace of abundance, when you are actually the rightful king who has simply forgotten his crown. The revelation that changed my understanding forever came through observing a woman who had been attending my lectures for 3 years. After one evening session, she approached me like a ship lost at sea, tears streaming down her face. She said, "Neville, I have been faithfully practicing everything you teach. I want love so desperately. It aches in my bones. I want financial security with every fiber of my being. I want good health more than I want my next breath. I visualize, I affirm, I assume, but nothing changes. Why won't the universe give me what I want?" As she spoke those words, I want, I want, I want, I suddenly understood her struggle. She was like a radio broadcaster transmitting on the frequency of absence while hoping to receive signals of presence. I said to her, "My dear woman, you have just revealed exactly why your desires remain as distant as stars. In the very act of wanting, you are placing yourself outside the gates of fulfillment, declaring yourself separate from what you seek." She looked at me as though I had spoken in riddles. "But Neville," she protested, "how can I desire something without wanting it? Isn't wanting as natural as breathing when you don't have what you desire?" I smiled gently and replied, "Wanting is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it can never be full because wanting itself is the hole. Having, on the other hand, is like owning a well of fresh water. You don't want water because you are water. You don't seek abundance because you are abundance itself. Wanting, you see, is desire that has been infected with the virus of lack. Pure desire is like a flower naturally turning toward the sun. It simply moves toward greater expression without any sense of deficiency. But when desire becomes contaminated with wanting, it transforms from a magnet that attracts into a wall that repels. Consider this carefully. When you say, "I want," what spell are you casting? You are declaring to the universe that something exists out there that you do not currently possess. You are affirming that you are here and your good is there, and there is a great chasm between them. You are the actor playing the role of the person who lacks what they seek. But consciousness is like a perfect mirror. It can only reflect back to you the image you hold of yourself. When you hold the image of yourself as someone who wants, consciousness faithfully reflects back experiences that confirm your wanting. When you hold the image of yourself as someone who has, consciousness must reflect back experiences that confirm your having. This is why Jesus taught, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Notice the precision of his words. Not believe that you will receive it someday if you want it badly enough, but believe that you have received it. He was teaching the consciousness of having versus the consciousness of wanting. Let me tell you about a businessman who discovered this truth. Like a man discovering he had been carrying a treasure map upside down his entire life. He came to me consumed with financial anxiety, his face etched with worry lines like a map of his struggles. Neville, he said, I want money so desperately I can taste it. I think about it from morning until night. I want financial freedom like a drowning man wants air. But the more I want these things, the more they slip through my fingers like water. I said to him, you have become addicted to the drug of wanting money, which creates a perpetual state of not having money. The universe is like a cosmic pharmacy. It cannot give you medicine for having money while you are taking daily doses of wanting money, because wanting and having are antidotes to each other. But how can I stop wanting money when I clearly need it? He asked, like a fish, asking how to stop wanting water. By understanding that you are not a poor man who wants to become rich. I replied, you are richness itself temporarily wearing the costume of poverty. You don't need to become abundant. You need to remove the mask of lack that is hiding your natural abundance. I taught this man to stop drinking from the poisoned well of wanting and start drinking from the pure spring of having. Instead of affirming I want financial abundance like a beggar rattling his empty cup, he learned to feel I have financial abundance like a king surveying his treasury. Instead of visualizing money coming to him like a man staring at an empty horizon, he learned to experience money as already his, like a man counting coins in his pocket. The transformation was like watching winter melt into spring. Within months, opportunities began flowing to him like rivers converging into a great lake. His external world rearranged itself to match his internal shift from the poverty of wanting to the wealth of having. But let me address the question that is surely arising in your mind like smoke from a fire. If I stop wanting things, won't I lose the very fuel that drives me forward? Won't I become like a ship without wind in its sails? This reveals the great misunderstanding about motivation. Wanting does not motivate, it agitates. Wanting does not inspire action. It inspires desperation. You are comparing the frantic flailing of a drowning man to the powerful strokes of an Olympic swimmer. When you want something, you act like a starving person grabbing for food. Desperate, grasping, repulsive to others. When you have something in consciousness, you act like a well-fed person offering food to others. Generous, attractive, magnetic. Consider the difference between someone who wants love and someone who is love walking in human form. The person who wants love moves through the world like an empty vessel seeking to be filled, and their very emptiness repels what they seek. The person who is love moves through the world like a fountain of fresh water, and their fullness naturally attracts others who wish to drink from their abundance. Let me share with you the story of a woman who understood this principle so deeply that she transformed her entire relationship with love itself. She had been single for years, wanting companionship like a plant, wanting sunlight, withering in the shade of her own loneliness. She said, Neville, I want love so much it consumes me. I want a relationship more than I want success, more than I want money, more than I want anything else in this world. I've tried everything, social events like hunting expeditions, personal development like preparing for battle, but I keep attracting the wrong men or no men at all. I said to her, you are broadcasting on the frequency of emotional starvation while hoping to attract someone who is emotionally well-fed. But well-fed people are not attracted to starving people. They are attracted to other well-fed people. You must stop wanting love and start being love. But I am loving, she protested. You have love to give because you want love to receive, I observed. This is conditional love, transactional love, hungry love. True love is like the sun. It doesn't shine because it wants something in return, but because shining is its nature. I taught this woman to stop being like a beggar outside the palace of love and start being like the queen who owns the palace. Instead of affirming, I want to find my soulmate, like someone searching for a lost treasure, she learned to feel I am deeply loved and cherished, like someone who had never known a day without love. Instead of visualizing meeting the right man, like someone scanning the horizon for rescue, she learned to experience the feeling of being in perfect relationship right now, like someone sitting by a warm fire with their beloved. As she practiced this transformation from wanting love to being love, everything shifted like a kaleidoscope, forming a new pattern. Her entire energy changed from that of a woman seeking to that of a woman celebrating. She stopped looking for love and started expressing love. She stopped trying to get and started giving. Within 3 months, she met a man who was also radiating love rather than wanting love. Their connection was like two rivers joining to form a mighty stream. Natural, effortless, and joyful, because both were flowing from fullness rather than reaching from emptiness. This brings us to one of the most profound truths about transcending want. When you stop wanting things from others, you begin to receive everything from consciousness itself. When you stop looking to external sources to fill your apparent emptiness, you discover that fullness is your natural state. Most people are like beggars standing outside different shops, wanting approval from this person, attention from that person, love from another, validation from someone else. They have made themselves dependent on external circumstances for their internal state, which keeps them forever in the position of wanting. But when you realize that everything you want from others already exists within your own consciousness, you stop being a beggar and become a benefactor. You stop trying to get and start giving. You stop seeking and start finding within yourself. I remember a man who was like a plant withering for lack of recognition, constantly frustrated with his job because he wanted acknowledgement from his boss. He said, "Neville, I work harder than anyone else, but my boss never sees my value. I want him to appreciate my efforts. Like a flower wants sunshine. I want him to recognize my contributions. Like a child wants approval from a parent. I want him to give me the recognition I deserve." I said to him, "You are like a mirror, begging its reflection to smile while maintaining a frown. You want recognition because you believe you lack recognition. But recognition is not something you get from others. It's something you give to yourself, and others simply reflect back to you the recognition you already embody." I taught this man to stop being like a beggar outside the temple of appreciation and start being like the high priest within it. Instead of affirming, "I want my boss to appreciate me," like someone pleading for charity, he learned to feel, "I am deeply appreciated for my valuable contributions," like someone who had never doubted their worth. Instead of looking for external validation, he learned to validate himself completely. As he shifted from wanting recognition to being recognized already, something beautiful occurred. His boss began naturally acknowledging his work, not because the boss had changed, but because this man was no longer the same person who needed external validation. He had learned to generate internally what he had been wanting externally. This is the great secret. Everything you want from the external world already exists within your own consciousness. When you learn to be internally what you've been wanting externally, you stop wanting and start having. And when you start having in consciousness, the external world naturally reflects that having back to you. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of transcending want is learning to desire without wanting. The secret lies in understanding that pure desire is like a river flowing toward the ocean, natural, powerful, and unstoppable. Corrupted wanting is like a whirlpool. It creates a lot of motion, but goes nowhere, trapping everything that enters its spin. Pure desire flows from fullness and says, "Wouldn't it be wonderful to experience this expansion of what I already am?" Corrupted wanting flows from emptiness and says, "I need this thing to complete my broken self." When you desire from fullness rather than emptiness, you maintain the creative power of desire without the destructive energy of wanting. You can be passionate about your dreams like an artist, passionate about creating, rather than desperate for them like a beggar, desperate for coins. Let me tell you about an artist who mastered this delicate balance. She came to me feeling blocked creatively and financially, like a spring that had been dammed up. "Neville," she said, "I want so desperately to be a successful artist that it's strangling my creativity. I want galleries to show my work like a performer wants applause. I want collectors to buy my paintings like a merchant wants customers. I want recognition in the art world like an actor wants fame. But the more I want these things, the less able I am to create anything worth wanting. I said to her, your wanting is like putting a tourniquet around the very artery that feeds your creativity. You are trying to create art to get something rather than creating art to express something. When you want success from your art, you poison the pure creative impulse with the toxin of neediness. I taught this woman to shift from wanting artistic success to being a successful artist in consciousness. Instead of creating art to get recognition, she learned to create art from the consciousness of already being recognized. Instead of painting to achieve success like a climber struggling toward a summit, she learned to paint from the feeling of success, like someone who had already reached the peak and was enjoying the view. As she made this shift, her creativity exploded. Her art became more authentic, more powerful, more compelling, because it was flowing from fullness rather than reaching from emptiness. And as her consciousness of being a successful artist solidified, external success followed like night following day. But the most remarkable transformation was that she no longer needed external success to feel fulfilled as an artist. She had learned to generate the feeling of artistic fulfillment from within. And external success became like cream rising to the top, a natural overflow of her inner state rather than a desperate goal to achieve. This is the ultimate freedom that comes from transcending want. You become like a well rather than a bucket, generating from within what you had been seeking from without. You discover that everything you've been wanting from the world already exists within the infinite treasury of your own consciousness. When you truly understand that consciousness is the source of all experience, you realize that wanting anything from outside consciousness is like being thirsty while standing in an ocean. The fulfillment you seek is not somewhere else waiting to be found. It's right here, right now, within the boundless depths of your own being. But let me address one final concern that may be rising in your mind. If I stop wanting things, won't I lose my dreams? Won't I settle for less than I could experience? The opposite is true. Wanting actually imprisons your dreams in cages of limitation, because it keeps you focused on what you don't have, rather than what's possible. When you transcend wanting, you open to receiving beyond what your small mind ever thought to want. Wanting operates from the limited perspective that thinks it knows what it needs. Having operates from the unlimited perspective that knows it deserves everything. When you stop wanting specific things and start being open to infinite good, you often receive something far greater than what you originally wanted. I knew a woman who was like a person digging for water with a teaspoon while standing on an underground river. She desperately wanted to marry a specific man, visualizing it, affirming it, wanting it with every breath for years. But the more she wanted him specifically, the more he seemed to resist her, like a bar of soap slipping from grasping hands. When she finally released her iron grip on wanting him and shifted to the consciousness of being loved deeply by the perfect partner for her, everything changed. She stopped chasing this particular man like a hunter pursuing prey, and started being the kind of woman who naturally attracts deep love, like a flower naturally attracting bees. 6 months later, she met and married a man who was far more compatible, loving and wonderful than the man she had been desperately wanting. Her willingness to stop wanting something specific allowed her to receive something infinitely better than what her limited perspective had thought to desire. This is the magic of transcending want. You stop limiting yourself to what your small mind thinks it wants, and open yourself to what your infinite nature knows it deserves. So tonight I invite you to examine your relationship with this word that has been secretly sabotaging your dreams. Notice how often you say, I want, and feel the energy of lack that accompanies it. Observe how wanting creates tension in your body, anxiety in your mind, and separation in your heart. Then begin to practice the consciousness of having. Instead of saying I want, learn to say I have, or I am, or I give thanks for. Instead of focusing on what's missing from your life, focus on what's present in your consciousness. Instead of broadcasting the frequency of lack, begin radiating the frequency of fulfillment. Start with small things, like shifting from I want coffee to I'm enjoying my coffee, from I want to feel better to I am feeling better and better, from I want people to like me to I am naturally likable and appreciated. As you practice this shift from wanting to having, you'll feel your entire energy changing. You'll feel more peaceful, more confident, more magnetic. And as your consciousness changes, your external world will naturally begin to reflect your new inner state. Remember, the universe is like a cosmic echo. It cannot give you what you want, because wanting declares that you don't have it. But the universe must give you what you are, because consciousness can only experience itself. Stop wanting and start being. Stop seeking and start finding. Stop lacking and start having. The wanting must go because having is your natural state. You are not beings of lack trying to acquire abundance. You are abundance itself, temporarily experiencing limitation through the illusion of wanting. Return to your natural state of having. Return to your true nature as consciousness that lacks nothing. Return to the recognition that everything you've ever wanted already exists within you, waiting not to be acquired but to be acknowledged. The wanting must go. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.
Tonight, I want to share with you something that will revolutionize your entire understanding of wealth. You see, my friends, we've been living under a grand illusion. From the cradle to the grave, we're taught that money is something out there, something we must chase, fight for, and earn through blood, sweat, and tears. But what if I told you this very belief is the prison that keeps you poor? I remember a man who came to me, absolutely desperate. He said, "Neville, I work 16 hours a day. I've read every financial book. I've tried every investment strategy, yet I'm still drowning in debt. What am I doing wrong?" And I said to him what I'm saying to you now. You're trying to get from the outside what can only come from within. This man had fallen victim to the greatest lie ever told about money, that it comes from effort alone. But effort without the proper state of consciousness is like rowing against the tide. You exhaust yourself while making little progress. Listen carefully to this truth. Money is not a thing. It is a reflection. It reflects, with perfect accuracy, your inner conviction about your own worth. You think you're poor because you lack money. But the truth is far more profound. You lack money because you feel poor within yourself. The external world is nothing but a mirror, showing you exactly what you believe about yourself deep down. Every morning when you wake up, you're either reinforcing poverty consciousness or wealth consciousness. There is no neutral ground. You're always assuming something about yourself in relation to money. But here's where it gets interesting. There was once a manuscript written by a man who lost everything in a financial collapse. But instead of trying to rebuild his fortune through conventional means, he did something extraordinary. He spent 7 years studying not the mechanics of money, but its spiritual nature. What he discovered was so revolutionary that those who first read it tried to keep it secret. They realized this knowledge was too powerful to share freely. But tonight, I'm sharing it with you. This man discovered that money obeys the same laws as everything else in creation. It responds to consciousness, to assumption, to the feeling of already having what you desire. The first law this man discovered is this. Money flows to those who assume they are wealthy, not to those who work to become wealthy. Let me explain what I mean by assume. When I say assume, I don't mean pretend or hope or wish. I mean to take for granted as true, to live from the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Most people live from their current circumstances. They look at their bank account and say, "I am poor." Then they try to work their way out of poverty. But this approach guarantees failure because they're creating from poverty consciousness. You see, when you assume you are poor, you think poor thoughts, make poor decisions, and radiate poor energy. The world responds accordingly. But what if you dared to reverse this process? Here's what the truly wealthy understand. You must first become wealthy in consciousness before you can have wealth in your bank account. This isn't positive thinking or visualization. This is a complete reversal of how you approach reality itself. Instead of saying, I'll be happy when I'm rich, you must learn to say, I am rich, therefore I am happy. Can you feel the difference in these two statements? The first keeps wealth perpetually in the future. The second brings it into the present moment, where all power exists. Now, let me teach you something crucial about cultivating the feeling of wealth. This is not about pretending you have money when you don't. This is about capturing the essence of what it feels like to be a wealthy person. Close your eyes and remember a time, any time, when you felt completely secure financially. Perhaps it was when you received an unexpected check, or when you had just been paid and all your bills were covered. Do you remember that feeling of relief, of breathing easily? That is the feeling we want to cultivate and expand. But let me go deeper. Wealth isn't just about having money. It's about having a particular relationship with money. A wealthy person doesn't worry about money. They don't check their account balance with anxiety. They don't make decisions from fear of loss. Instead, they operate from a fundamental assumption of sufficiency. They know they're absolutely sure that there will always be enough. Now, I want you to do something with me. Close your eyes, if you're in a safe place to do so. Imagine you're checking your bank account right now, and instead of that familiar knot of anxiety in your stomach, you feel calm, satisfaction. Not excitement, not surprise, just the quiet confidence of someone who has always had enough. How would you walk differently? How would you speak to people? What decisions would you make from this state of consciousness? Notice how a wealthy person enters a room. They don't apologize for their presence. They don't shrink or make themselves small. There's a natural dignity, a quiet authority that comes from inner security. This feeling, this is your true nature. The struggle is the aberration. But before we can fully embrace wealth consciousness, we must understand how deeply poverty programming runs in our society. We're bombarded with beliefs that poison our relationship with money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. You have to work hard for everything. There's not enough to go around. Money is the root of all evil. These statements, repeated millions of times, become the invisible bars of our financial prison. But here's what you must understand. Every single one of these beliefs is a lie. Money is energy. It's neither good nor evil. It simply flows toward those who are in harmony with its nature. Here's something that will shock you. The people who struggle hardest for money are often the ones who repel it most effectively. Why? Because struggle implies lack. When you struggle for something, you're affirming that you don't have it. And the universe, which is nothing but consciousness itself, responds to your assumption of lack by giving you more experiences of lacking. I once knew a woman who worked 3 jobs and still couldn't make ends meet. She would say, I have to work so hard just to survive. And the universe, being the perfect mirror, said, yes, you do, and arranged circumstances to make this true. But listen to this carefully. A truly wealthy man once told me his secret. He said, Neville, I never work for money. I work from money. I assume I already have everything I need, and then I act from that assumption. Do you see the difference? Working for money assumes you don't have it. Working for money assumes you do. This shift in assumption changes everything. Your decisions, your opportunities, your very presence in the world. When you work from money, you make different choices. You invest in yourself. You take calculated risks. You don't accept less than your worth. You operate from abundance, not scarcity. One of the most powerful ways to transform your wealth consciousness is to change your language about money. Your words are not just sounds. They are creative forces that shape your reality. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, say, how can I afford it? Money is tight. Say, money is flowing. I'm broke. Say, I'm rebuilding my wealth. I'll never have enough. Say, there's always enough for what I truly need. Rich people are lucky. Say, wealth is a natural result of right thinking. Notice how different these statements feel in your body. The first set creates contraction, anxiety, limitation. The second set creates expansion, possibility, hope. Your subconscious mind is listening to every word you say about money. It takes your statements as commands and works to make them true. Now, let me share with you the fundamental mindset shifts that separate the wealthy from the poor. Number 1. Shifting from scarcity to abundance. Poor people believe there's not enough to go around. Rich people know that abundance is the natural state of the universe. Number 2. Shifting from earning to receiving. Poor people think they must earn everything through effort. Wealthy people understand that the universe is always trying to give them what they need. Number 3. Shifting from fear to faith. Poor people make decisions based on what they might lose. Rich people make decisions based on what they might gain. And number 4. Shifting from victim to creator. Poor people blame circumstances for their financial situation. Wealthy people take responsibility for creating their reality. Now, let me share with you a practical method, a 7-day process that can fundamentally alter your relationship with wealth. Day 1. Be the observer. Observe without judgment every thought and feeling you have about money. Don't change anything, just watch. Notice how often you think about lack versus abundance. Notice the emotions that arise when you think about money. This awareness is the first step to transformation. Day 2. Be the linguist. Begin to notice the language you use about money. Stop saying, "I can't afford it," and start asking, "How can I afford this?" Replace every limiting statement with an empowering one. Your words are spells. Cast them wisely. Day 3. Be the wealthy person. Practice the feeling of wealth for just 10 minutes. Sit quietly and assume you already have everything you desire. Don't visualize. Feel it. Feel the security, the freedom, the possibilities that wealth brings. Day 4. Be the decision maker. Make one decision from abundance rather than scarcity. No matter how small. Maybe it's buying the more expensive food instead of the cheaper option. Maybe it's investing in a course that could improve your skills. Act as a wealthy person would act. Day 5. Be the giver. Give something away, time, money, or attention, from a feeling of having plenty. Wealthy people are natural givers because they know there's always more where that came from. Day 6. Be the self-honorer. Treat yourself as someone wealthy would treat themselves, within your current means. Maybe it's taking yourself to a nice restaurant, or buying yourself flowers, or getting a massage. Honor yourself as valuable. Day 7. Be the new identity. Live the entire day as if your financial problems were already solved. How would you walk? How would you talk? What would you focus on? Embody this new identity completely. Let me teach you a specific meditation technique that will reprogram your subconscious for wealth. I call it the Millionaire's Mind Meditation. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Now imagine you're waking up in your ideal home, a home that reflects your wealth. Feel the quality of the sheets, the spaciousness of the room, the morning light streaming through expensive windows. You check your investment portfolio. Instead of anxiety, you feel satisfaction at the steady growth of your wealth. You go to your closet, filled with beautiful, high-quality clothes. You dress not from necessity, but from choice. You go to breakfast and don't look at prices on the menu. You order what you want, because money is not a constraint. Throughout this meditation, focus on the feeling more than the details. The feeling of security, of having choices, of not worrying about money. Practice this meditation daily, and you'll begin to reprogram your subconscious mind to expect wealth rather than struggle. Now here's perhaps the most important thing I'll tell you tonight. Wealth flows to those who know how to receive, not to those who know how to struggle. We've been programmed to believe that anything of value must be earned through suffering. But this is the thinking of slaves, not kings. A king doesn't struggle for his wealth. He assumes it. He doesn't chase money. He attracts it through his very being. But here's what most people don't understand about receiving. It's an active state, not a passive one. To receive wealth, you must open yourself to it. You must expect it. You must believe you deserve it. Many people push away wealth because deep down they don't feel worthy of it. They sabotage opportunities because they believe they don't deserve success. Understand this. Your true identity is unlimited abundance. The question isn't, how do I get rich? The question is, who do I assume myself to be? Are you someone who struggles for every penny, or are you someone who naturally attracts abundance? Your current bank account reflects your answer to this question with mathematical precision. But here's the beautiful truth. You can change your identity in this moment. You don't have to wait for external circumstances to change. You can decide right now to be a wealthy person who temporarily has limited funds rather than a poor person trying to get rich. Let me teach you how to think like a millionaire. Even if you currently have $10 to your name, a millionaire wakes up in the morning with a fundamental assumption. I am the kind of person who has more than enough. They don't hope for this. They know it. They don't work toward this. They work from this assumption. When making decisions, they don't operate from fear of loss. They operate from expectation of gain. They don't count their money obsessively. They invest it, multiply it, use it as a tool for creating more value in the world. They don't see other wealthy people as competition. They see them as confirmation that wealth is possible. This is not about the money in their account. This is about the consciousness they embody. And here's something profound that happens when you truly embody wealth consciousness. Your desires transform. You stop wanting money for its own sake and start seeing it as a tool for expression and service. A person operating from poverty consciousness wants money to solve their problems, to make them feel secure, to prove their worth. A person operating from wealth consciousness wants money to express their vision, to serve others, to create beauty and value in the world. This shift in the nature of your desire completely changes your relationship with money. It transforms money from something you need to something you use. And now, the greatest secret of all. You don't become wealthy by accumulating money. You become wealthy by assuming wealth. The money is simply the inevitable reflection of your assumption. This is why lottery winners often lose their fortunes. They have money, but lack wealth consciousness. And this is why some people can start with nothing and build empires. They have wealth consciousness regardless of their circumstances. Wealth consciousness is a state of being, not a bank balance. It's a way of thinking, feeling, and moving through the world. It's an assumption about your own value and your relationship to universal abundance. When you truly understand these principles, something miraculous happens. Financial anxiety dies, not because your problems are solved, but because you realize you have the power to solve them. You stop checking your bank balance with fear and start checking it with curiosity. You stop worrying about bills and start planning for abundance. You stop living from paycheck to paycheck and start thinking in terms of wealth accumulation. This isn't denial or fantasy. This is a fundamental shift in consciousness that changes everything. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to make this declaration, not as a hope or a wish, but as a recognition of truth. I am the kind of person who has more than enough. Money flows to me easily and naturally, because this is my true nature. I no longer struggle for abundance. I simply assume it. I release all limiting beliefs about money. I reject the programming of scarcity. I choose to live from wealth consciousness, regardless of my current circumstances. I am valuable. I am worthy. I am naturally abundant. This is who I am. And if you're truly serious about transforming your relationship with money, I challenge you to live from wealth consciousness for the next 30 days, regardless of your circumstances. For 30 days, make every decision as a wealthy person would make it. Speak about money only in positive terms. Assume that prosperity is your natural state. Don't wait for evidence. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for your bank account to change. Start now, in this moment, with the consciousness you choose to embody. When you transform your relationship with money, you don't just change your own life. You change the lives of everyone around you. Your children will absorb wealth consciousness instead of poverty programming. Your friends will be inspired by your transformation. Your community will benefit from your prosperity. You become a living example that abundance is possible, that struggle is not necessary, that wealth is a birthright, not a privilege. You have a choice to make tonight. You can continue living from your current circumstances, looking at what is and saying, "This is who I am." Or you can dare to live from your imagination, feeling what it would be like to be the person you want to be, and letting that feeling guide you into a new reality. The choice is yours. But remember, whatever you assume to be true about yourself will inevitably manifest in your world. Assume wealth, and wealth will come. Assume struggle, and struggle will persist. The power has always been within you. Tonight, you simply remember how to use it. Money, my friends, is not your enemy. It's not scarce. It's not hard to get. Money is simply a symbol of your assumption about your own worth, your own value, your own deserving. Change the assumption, and you change the symbol. Live from the feeling of already having what you desire, and watch as the world rearranges itself to match your assumption. This is the law. This is the way. This is your inheritance. The universe is abundant beyond your wildest dreams. There is enough for everyone. There is enough for you. Stop fighting for crumbs when you could be feasting at the banquet of life. Stop begging for prosperity when you could be claiming your birthright. Stop living as a victim of circumstances when you could be living as the creator of your reality. Tonight, you choose. Tonight, you decide. Tonight, you assume your true identity as a naturally prosperous being. Claim it, live it, be it. The kingdom of heaven, which is wealth consciousness, is within you. It always has been. You need only recognize it, embrace it, and live from it. Your wealth is not coming to you. Your wealth is you. Remember this, and you will never be poor again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I am going to tell you something so radical, so revolutionary, that it will shatter everything you thought you knew about reality. I am going to prove to you that your life is a simulation. Nothing is happening out there. Nothing has ever happened out there. Everything, and I mean everything, is happening within your own consciousness, being projected outward like images on a screen. The world you see, touch, and experience is not the cause of your inner states. It is the effect. The people in your life are not independent agents acting upon you. They are reflections, animations, characters in the grand simulation that your consciousness is running every moment of every day. I can see some of you shifting uncomfortably already. Your rational mind is protesting, but Neville, I can clearly see other people making their own choices. I can feel the solidity of matter. I can experience events that seem to happen independent of my thoughts. And that, my friends, is precisely how convincing this simulation is. That is exactly how powerfully your consciousness has projected this three-dimensional theater of experience. But tonight I am going to pull back the curtain and show you the projection booth. I am going to prove to you that you are not a character in someone else's story. You are the author, the director, and the entire audience of your own experience. Let me begin with a simple truth that will unlock everything else. The world is a screen, and your consciousness is the projector. Think about a motion picture theater. When you watch a film, you see images moving on a screen. People talking, landscapes changing, dramas unfolding. But nothing is actually happening on the screen itself. The screen is perfectly passive, perfectly neutral. It simply reflects whatever the projector casts upon it. If a sad scene appears, the screen does not become sad. If a violent scene plays, the screen is not damaged. The screen remains unchanged by whatever images dance across its surface. All the action, all the story, all the content is coming from the projector, from the film running through the light. Your outer world is that screen. Your consciousness is the projector. And the film running through your consciousness is your inner conversation, your assumptions, your beliefs, your self-concept. Just last week, a woman came to me in absolute despair. Her husband was being cruel to her, she said. Her boss was disrespecting her. Her children were disobedient. Her neighbors were unfriendly. Everywhere she looked, she saw evidence of a hostile world acting upon her. I listened to her litany of complaints, and then I said something that shocked her. My dear, your husband is not being cruel to you. Your boss is not disrespecting you. Your children are not disobedient. These are all projections of your own inner state appearing on the screen of your experience. How can you say that? She cried. I'm not imagining this. These things are really happening. They are appearing to happen, I replied. But nothing is happening out there. It is all happening in here. I pointed to her heart, her mind. You are running a simulation based on your beliefs about yourself. And everyone in your world is playing their assigned role in that simulation perfectly. I asked her to examine her inner conversation, the silent dialogue she maintained with herself throughout each day. And as she became honest with herself, she admitted that she constantly told herself she was unworthy of respect, unlovable, inadequate as a mother, not valued at work. There is your film, I said. There is the content running through your projector. And the screen, your outer world, has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Your husband, your boss, your children, your neighbors. They are all characters in the simulation you are running. They are reflecting your inner assumptions about yourself. I taught her to change the film, to change her inner conversation from unworthiness to worthiness, from being unloved to being deeply loved, from inadequacy to capability. And as she persistently changed what was running through her consciousness, the screen began to change. Within weeks, her husband became more affectionate without her saying a word to him about it. Her boss began praising her work. Her children became more cooperative. Her neighbors grew friendly. Had these people changed? No. She had changed the simulation she was running, and they had no choice but to play their new roles in her revised script. Now let me take this deeper. Every person in your life is a character in your simulation. This does not mean they do not exist as conscious beings in their own right. It means that the version of them you experience is entirely determined by your consciousness, not by their independent choices. Think about this carefully. You have never met another person. You have only met your concept of that person. The husband you experience is not the husband that exists independently. It is your assumption about your husband made visible. Your boss, your mother, your children, your friends, you interact with your beliefs about them, not with them as they exist in themselves. And since consciousness is the only reality, your belief about them is the only version of them that exists in your world. This is why two people can know the same individual and have completely different experiences of them. One person experiences them as kind and generous. Another experiences them as cold and selfish. How can this be if people have fixed independent natures? It cannot be, unless each person is experiencing their own projection, their own simulation of that individual. This is the truth that most people find hardest to accept. Nothing in your world is independent of your consciousness. Nothing acts upon you from outside. Everything is your own consciousness pushed out, appearing as other people, circumstances, events. You think your bank balance is an independent fact. It is not. It is your assumption about money made visible. You think your health is determined by germs, genetics, age. It is not. It is your assumption about your body made manifest. You think the economy, the government, the weather are forces outside your control. They are not. In your personal simulation, they are all variables controlled by your consciousness. I know this sounds impossible. Your senses scream that the world is solid, independent, objective. But your senses are part of the simulation. They are designed to make the projection seem real, to make the screen seem solid. Let me tell you about a woman who discovered this truth in the most practical way. She had been trying to sell her house for over a year. The market was bad, she said. Buyers were scarce. Interest rates were too high. The economy was against her. She had 1,000 reasons why the house would not sell, all of them appearing to be independent facts about out there. I said to her, in your simulation you have programmed these obstacles. You are running a version of reality where houses do not sell easily. But you could just as easily run a different simulation where the market is perfect. Buyers are abundant, and your house sells immediately. But I can't control the market, she protested. You do not need to control the market out there, I replied. You need only change the market in your consciousness. In your simulation, the market is whatever you assume it to be. And the screen, the outer world, must reflect your assumption. I taught her to stop looking at external market conditions as independent facts, and to instead assume in her consciousness that her house was in high demand, that perfect buyers were already seeking it, that the sale was inevitable and imminent. She stopped reading negative real estate news. She stopped listening to reports about the bad market. Instead, she lived in the assumption that in her personal reality, houses like hers were selling quickly. She imagined the sold sign on her lawn. She felt the satisfaction of a completed sale. Within 3 weeks, she had multiple offers on her house and sold it for more than her asking price. The market had not changed out there, but in her simulation, the market had always been whatever she assumed it to be. And once she changed her assumption, the screen had to display different content. This is what I mean when I teach that you are the operant power in your world. You are not subject to forces outside yourself. You are the force that creates all the appearances you call outside. Your consciousness is running a simulation every moment. And that simulation has rules, but they are your rules, your assumptions, your beliefs. When you understand this, you realize you have been playing a game where you made the rules and then forgot you made them. You created the rule that money is hard to come by, and then you experienced difficulty with money and thought it was an external fact. You created the rule that love is scarce, that health declines with age, that success requires struggle, and then you experienced these limitations and believed they were imposed from outside, but they were never outside. They were always the content of your simulation, the film running through your projector, appearing on the screen of your experience. I can tell you these things, but you must prove them to yourself. And the proof is simple. Examine your life and you will see that it perfectly matches your inner assumptions. If you believe people are untrustworthy, look around. Your world is filled with people who betray you. If you believe money is scarce, examine your finances. Scarcity appears everywhere. If you believe you are unworthy of love, observe your relationships. They confirm your unworthiness. This is not coincidence. This is not bad luck. This is the precise mechanical operation of your consciousness projecting a simulation that matches its content. But here is the wonderful news. If your current experience is the perfect reflection of your current assumptions, then changing your assumptions must change your experience. It is law. It is inevitable. Now let me reveal to you the deepest secret of how consciousness actually works. Everything you experience is happening inside of you, not metaphorically, not symbolically. Literally, actually, completely inside of you. Right now, as you listen to these words, you believe you are in a room, in a building, in a city, in a world. But I tell you that the room is in you. The building is in you. The city, the world, the entire universe exists nowhere but within your consciousness. You think you are a small being inside a vast universe. But the truth is the reverse. The entire universe is inside you. And you are the vast awareness in which all things appear. Think about your dreams at night. Where do those dreams take place? You might dream of traveling to Paris, climbing mountains, meeting people, experiencing entire lifetimes. But when you wake up, where were you? You were in your bed the entire time. The Paris you visited, the mountains you climbed, the people you met, all of it was happening inside your consciousness. None of it was out there. And I tell you with absolute certainty, your waking life is no different. It is simply a more stable, more consistent, more convincing dream. But it is still happening entirely within consciousness, not outside of it. You have never touched anything external to yourself. You have only experienced sensations within your consciousness. You have never seen anything outside of yourself. You have only experienced images within your consciousness. You have never heard anything external to yourself. You have only experienced sounds within your consciousness. Every single experience you have ever had, every sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, thought, feeling, and sensation has occurred nowhere but within your own awareness. You have literally never experienced anything outside of consciousness, because there is no outside of consciousness. Scientists speak of the brain creating a model of reality based on sensory inputs, but they have it backwards. Consciousness is not creating a model of an external reality. Consciousness is creating the entire experience of reality, including the apparent sensory inputs themselves. When you look at a tree, light does not bounce off an external tree and enter your eyes. Your consciousness generates the entire experience of seeing a tree. The light, the eyes, the tree, and the seeing itself are all occurring within consciousness. This is why imagination and perception feel different, but are fundamentally the same process. When you imagine a tree, you know you are generating it in consciousness. When you perceive a tree, you believe you are seeing something external, but both are consciousness generating experience. The only difference is the intensity and the belief you hold about the source. The mystics have always known this truth. When Buddha said all that we are is the result of what we have thought, he was teaching this principle. When Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, he was revealing that everything exists in consciousness, not in an external world. When the ancient texts declare the world is illusion, they mean that what appears to be an external, solid, independent reality is actually consciousness appearing as reality. You are not in the world is in you. You are not a body walking around in space. You are consciousness generating the experience of having a body and moving through space. And once you understand this, really understand it, not just intellectually but experientially, you realize you have complete power over your entire reality. Because your reality is not happening to you from outside. It is happening from you, within you, as an expression of your consciousness. The limitations you experience are not imposed by an external world. They are generated by your consciousness according to the assumptions you hold. Change your consciousness, and the entire simulation must change, because the simulation is consciousness expressing itself as experience. This is not philosophy or mysticism removed from practical life. This is the most practical truth you can know. Because when you realize that everything is happening inside consciousness, you stop trying to change things out there, and you start changing consciousness itself. And changing consciousness is instant, effortless, and always effective. So how do you live with this knowledge? How do you function day to day knowing that your life is a simulation and you are its creator? First, you stop giving power to appearances. When something unwanted appears on your screen, you do not fight it, fear it, or accept it as ultimate reality. You simply recognize it as the content of an old simulation still playing out, and you begin running a new one. Second, you take full responsibility for everything in your experience, not as blame but as power. If everything is your consciousness pushed out, then you have the power to change anything by changing your consciousness. Third, you become vigilant about what you are assuming. Your assumptions are the code running your simulation. Change the code, and the output must change. Fourth, you live in the end of your desires. You run the simulation you want to experience, not the one based on current appearances. You project the film you wish to see on the screen of your life. A businessman came to me whose company was failing. Every day brought new problems, new setbacks, new evidence of impending collapse. The simulation he was experiencing was one of failure and loss. But I taught him to stop looking at the screen and start controlling the projector. Instead of reacting to each new problem, he began running a different simulation in his consciousness. One where his business was thriving, successful, and profitable. Every morning before looking at sales figures or financial reports, he would spend time in his consciousness experiencing his business as successful. He would feel the satisfaction of strong revenues, loyal customers, and smooth operations. He would run this simulation so vividly that it felt more real than the current problems on his screen. And then, throughout the day, whenever evidence of the failing business appeared, he would not give it power. He would simply recognize it as old content still playing out while his new simulation was taking hold. Within 6 months, his business had completely turned around. New opportunities had appeared, old problems had resolved, and the company was more profitable than ever. The screen had finally caught up with the new content he had been running in his consciousness. Tonight, I want you to leave here with this understanding, burned into your consciousness. You are not a character in someone else's story. You are not subject to forces beyond your control. You are not at the mercy of the world out there. You are the consciousness running a simulation. And that simulation's your life must perfectly reflect whatever assumptions are running through your awareness. The people in your life are characters playing roles you have assigned them through your assumptions about them and yourself. The circumstances you face are scenarios generated by your beliefs about what is possible and necessary. The limitations you experience are rules you programmed into your simulation. But you can change the program at any moment. You can run a different simulation. You can project different content onto the screen of your experience. Stop looking at the screen as though it has power over you. It is perfectly passive, perfectly responsive, perfectly obedient to whatever your consciousness projects upon it. Start controlling the projector. Change your inner conversation. Revise your assumptions. Maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Run the simulation you desire to experience. And then watch as the screen, your outer world, has no choice but to display the new content you are projecting from consciousness. Nothing happens out there. Everything happens in here, in consciousness, and then appears out there as your experience. You are not in the simulation. You are running the simulation. And once you truly know this, you become the conscious creator you were always meant to be. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.